So hello, my name is Chris. Some of you may know me as Flatbed. I am creator of PixiEditor and founder of PixiLabs, and I want to talk to you about nodes today. More specifically, nodes driven to the workflows. I want to start with some context. So PixiEditor, in simple words, is a universal 2D graphics editor. You can create traditional graphics, vectors, and various interesting stuff. So one of the things in PixiEditor is that 2D is 2D, plain and simple. You can create graphics that are both in low resolution, raster images, pixel art, for example. But in the same document, you are capable of creating vector graphics. They are rendered in high resolution, so working between those two types of graphics is fairly easy. The line between them is pretty much blurred. There's also animations feature. You can create frame-by-frame animations, just like you would do it in other apps. But also there is procedural animation suite, so the capabilities of PixiEditor are also pretty advanced in that matter. And the secret weapon of PixiEditor is the node graph. So this is what I will be talking about today, mostly, how these nodes influenced my workflows, the development of whole PixiEditor, and also the general idea behind it. So, as I said, you can create a raster and vector graphics. This is only possible thanks to the fact that everything that is run, that is visible in PixiEditor is just a node graph in reality. So every layer is a node, every effect is a node, every filter is a node, pretty much anything. And you have full access to it. You can edit every single property, connect it to time or any other things that you think of. So I'd like to talk a little about the history and how did we transition from a simple pixel art graphics editor to something a little more advanced, capable of all of the things I mentioned previously. And let's start with the beginnings. So the very first commits, the very start of PixiEditor was in 2018, I'd say. It was pretty much a learning project for me, so nothing much happened back then. The real development started in 2020. I've created a Reddit post, created a Discord server, and some people joined me. Actually, 2 people, and they are core contributors of the app. And in 2023, we have managed to release version 1.0. So as I mentioned, it was a simple pixel art editor back then. You had layers, some basic tools, color picker, and the rendering suited for pixel art. In 2024, I decided to leave my full-time job to pursue creating PixiEditor further. It transitioned from pixel art to this more advanced graphics editor incrementally. Well, back then we didn't have a great idea how we want to design the whole application. All we had was just a Windows pixel art editor. So we wanted to add nodes to the app. So we were programmers, we still are, and we really like nodes. It's just fun. Anyone who worked with 3D knows how powerful these systems are. So we wanted something like this in 2D. Our original idea was to create some sort of layer nodes. So for example, there is a traditional layer structure. In most graphics apps, you had layers, they go from top to bottom, they are rendered accordingly to that. And our design idea was that you could click on a layer there would be a node graph that pops up, and you can edit how this layer looks with this node graph. So effectively, the whole structure would be composed of many graphs. However, back then we also wanted to add vector support. We only had a normal traditional raster renderer from the pixel art. So you create a 64 by 64 document, let's say. So anything you put in there gets rendered in that resolution. Even if we had vector layers, we could edit the points and do various stuff. You basically are still limited to the 64 by 64. So the whole rendering had to be redone. And all of this together gave us an idea. What if we make entire rendering engine as a single node graph? So each layer becomes a node. It is responsible for rendering itself on the whole viewport. So PixiEditor goes like, hey, here is a viewport. It is like 2000 by 1000. Please render whatever you have in the node graph. And it worked surprisingly well. So well that it went from, hey, we want a graphics node-based features to this is the core now. This is like entire rendering. And in 2025, we managed to release the version 2.0 with vector capabilities, so with the node graph and animations. And this is what happens when you have access to the entire render graph of the app. I was playing around and managed to make a graph that takes a cube texture on the left, and on the right, it gets rendered as a cube with live preview. It is just a single file. I can export it, send it to anyone else, and if they open it in PixiEditor, they get the same result. It was pretty fun. So we took this idea further, and in 2026, exactly 1 week ago, we managed to release version 2.1. We advertised as universal 2D graphics editor. So with this assumption, you would think that, hey, I can draw there too, right? Well, you could, but with 2 brushes only in version 2.0. They were hard-coded. So one brush was just a traditional brush with softened edges and a pixel art brush. So we managed to bring to life the nodes-based brush engine. So we take the very same node graph that powers the normal rendering and added a few special nodes, adjusted everything accordingly, and we built a node-based brush engine. So here is a sample of a brush. I hope it's visible. The details are here irrelevant, but in the essence, we have a brush output node, which takes a shape as an input. This can be whatever you make, either import from the internet or create directly in the app. It gets plugged to rotate node. This rotate node accepts an angle. This angle is provided by pointer info node, which gives the rotation. So we have access to like every property of the mouse. There is editor info, which exposes primary color. It's basically whatever color you have picked in the main color picker of the app. And there are some other stuff like pressure. It's also provided by pointer info and spacing. The spacing is a blackboard value, which means that whenever the user selects this brush, it gets shown in the toolbar. You can actually have a input that you can edit. So I want to look at a few examples how node-based workflows can help with some custom workflows or special needs. Here I have an example of creating normal maps. Normal map is this special kind of texture that is used mostly in game development to create this sort of 3D effect. So on the right side of the slide, you see the effect of combining normal map with the height map on the left. Usually normal map converters work with height maps. Height map is another kind of special texture, which basically stores values in grayscale about how high is the pointer texture on texture or low. So creating normal maps, there are a few ways to do it. I'm just gonna describe one way to do it. It usually would go like this. You go to the app, to the graphics editor, you import your normal colored texture, you make height map out of it, so this grayscale version. Once you're done with that, you need to export it from the 2D app, go to some kind of online converter, drag this height map to online converter, export it from the converter, go back to your game engine, import this normal map, and preview how it looks. If it doesn't look good, you need to go back and repeat the loop. Not very efficient. But if you have access to this entire node graph, render graph, you can make basically entire process closed in a single application. So on the left side, there is a height map, and on the right side, there is a normal map that it's automatically generated when you are drawing or editing. And when you create your height map, you can basically select a different output, shading output, I called it. And the virtual sun is appearing that you can move around. It's a light source. So you can preview how your normal map would look like. Of course, it's not ideal because every game engine does it a little differently, but it's good approximation. So another example is building the new features yourself. Usually in software, not only in graphics editors, you are limited to what developers thought of. So if you have some kind of special workflow or special needs, you usually have two options if the software does not support this feature or this workflow. One of which is hacking your way out. So combining multiple different features of the app to get what you want. It may work or may not. It may be hard or just uncomfortable. So there is second option, finding another software or a plugin. And you may find something that you are actually looking for, but also it's not always the case. The app might be expensive. So again, with the node graph, I took this equirectangular image on the left side and created a custom shader that turns this into a panable 3D environment. So I took the animation timeline from PixiEditor because I have still access to all the features of the graphics app and created this small animation. It's, of course, working on this image on the left. But all of this does not have to be that complicated. I mean, my two previous examples were pretty advanced. However, if you have access to nodes, you can make your smaller workflows a little faster. So there is a graph I built to automatically apply a filter to any image I put into the layers panel. So here I think it's sepia. The layers panel is pretty clean. I just drag and drop my images and they get converted to sepia. It can be anything, blurring, outline, simple, but really good. Oh, that's it. I'm 5 minutes early, but here are some links. There's a website to PixiEditor. Of course, PixiEditor is open source. I forgot to mention that. So there's a GitHub and our Discord QR code if you want to talk. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We are open for questions.
Yeah. Thank you for the talk. I know that you're also making an extension like plugin system. So why not just extend node graph, and why make like a separate like code base? What were the limitations?
I think I heard. I'm not sure if I heard the question right. Are you asking me if why did we make the node graph in a separate app or
No,
not?
no. My question is, I think you're also developing like an extension system, all right, to write plugins for PixiEditor. Why not just use the graph and just generalize your graph even more to make allow users to make extensions?
Oh yeah, I'm fan of this because the extension system we have something like this. But it's very early in development. There is far from being complete. In the meantime of making the extension system, I made this little thing with the brush engine. So brush engine is you can make brushes, but also it exposes so many properties that you can actually make a normal tools out of them. So for example, right now in version 2.1, I took the gradient tool and made it entirely out of these nodes. So it's a simple brush. Then I added some stuff to the core PixiEditor, so it recognizes this brush as a simple tool and it puts them in the toolbar. So it's effectively an extension used with the node graph. I want to make more of these things like this because it's simply cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Hello, thank you for the talk. I'm also curious, are you only passing raster images between the nodes in the graph, or do you sometimes also pass like raw vector data and have filters that generate new vectors before rasterizing?
Oh yeah, they're everything, like vector data, raw vector data, it can be edited with other nodes. There are raster images, and there is this general painter type of nodes. So to normal rendering, it's mostly using this painter. It basically says, hey, here is a chain of everything I want to draw, and please add yourself to this. So you can extend it to almost any type.
So you could have a Bezier path, and then you could say that stroke this path, and then you get like the outline of the stroke of that path. So you could have filter doing that.
Yeah. There's actually a node that accepts any vector. So it could be a Bezier curve, and it accepts a texture, any kind of texture, and it tiles these textures to fill the stroke. So you can have, for example, create rooms. Like you drag the vector points and the walls are automatically adjusting.
You're further along than me because this is on my to-do list for Gaggle inside GIMP. So.
Your question?
No more questions. So then, thank you very much, Chris.
Thank you.
That was our last.